"Excuse me, Sheriff. My car is clearly within the lines." He spits on the asphalt. "You're parked too close. That's a violation." "Too close? There's 2 feet of space. A black woman driving a car like this?" He circles her vehicle slowly. "In my county? You're either a thief or a whore. Either way, you don't belong here." He grabs her arm. "Hands behind your back. Now." The parking lot fills with onlookers. Phones raised, recording, smirking. A mother pulls her child closer but says nothing. Nobody helps. But in exactly 15 minutes, this sheriff will read one small business card. And for 15 seconds, he won't be able to say a single word. Let's rewind 2 hours before that moment in the parking lot. Saturday afternoon, June 15th. The Georgia sun beats down with the kind of heat that makes the air shimmer above the asphalt. Temperature sits at 94 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. The highway cuts through Holbrook County like a scar through farmland. Cotton fields stretch endlessly on one side. Pecan groves heavy with summer growth line the other. 18,000 people call this place home, living 90 minutes south of Atlanta, but feeling like a world apart. This is the kind of place where the same families have owned the same land for 5 generations. Where certain people run things and have always run things. Where change comes slowly, reluctantly, and often not at all. Where everyone knows their place, and God help anyone who forgets it. Pamela Crawford drives along this highway with her window cracked open. The warm air carries the smell of red Georgia clay and the promise of afternoon rain. Old soul music plays softly on the radio. Otis Redding singing about sitting on the dock of the bay. She hums along, fingers tapping the steering wheel in rhythm. She is 52 years old. A professor of criminal justice at Georgia State University, one of the most respected voices in her field. 20 years she has spent studying police reform, publishing research that has shaped policy across the nation. 3 books bear her name, cited in academic journals worldwide. Twice she has testified before congressional committees, her expertise sought by legislators drafting new accountability measures. Her work has influenced reform efforts in 12 states. But none of that matters today. Today, she is not Dr. Crawford, not the professor, not the expert. Today, she is simply a daughter driving home to see her mother. Dorothy Crawford lives alone in the small house where Pamela grew up. 78 years old now, widowed for 15 years since Pamela's father passed. Dorothy still bakes cornbread every Saturday morning, the same recipe her grandmother taught her. Still hangs laundry on the backyard line because she says the sun makes the sheets smell better than any dryer. Still reads on the front porch every evening until the fireflies rise at dusk, signaling the end of another day. Pamela pulls into the familiar gravel driveway. The crunch of stones beneath her tires sounds like childhood. Before she even reaches the porch steps, the screen door creaks open with that same squeak it's had for 30 years. Dorothy stands in the doorway, flour dusting her faded apron. Her hair is grayer now, her frame smaller, but her eyes still hold that same sharp warmth. "You're late." "Traffic outside Atlanta, Mama. You know how it gets on Saturdays." Dorothy pulls her daughter into a tight embrace. "Cornbread's almost ready. Come inside before this heat melts you down to nothing." Inside, the house smells exactly as Pamela remembers. Butter, memory, and decades of love soaked into every wall. The ceiling fan clicks with each slow rotation, the same rhythmic sound that once lulled her to sleep as a child. Light filters through lace curtains yellowed by years of Georgia sun. On the living room wall hangs a row of family photographs. Pamela pauses at one in particular, her brother, Curtis. Younger in this picture than she is now, smiling, unbroken. 25 years ago, Curtis was driving home from a late shift at the warehouse, a routine traffic stop on a dark county road. 4 officers, What started as a broken taillight ended with a broken nose and 2 cracked ribs. Curtis came home that night with blood dried on his shirt and something shattered behind his eyes that never fully healed. He never filed a complaint. "What's the point?" he said when Pamela begged him to report it. "Nothing ever changes for people like us." Curtis lives in Seattle now, as far from Georgia as he could possibly run. He doesn't talk about that night. He doesn't talk to police. Ever. Pamela chose a different path. She decided she would become the change, working from inside the system, through research, through testimony, through evidence that couldn't be ignored or dismissed. After lunch, Dorothy mentions a book she's been wanting to read, a biography of Eleanor Roosevelt. "I'll pick it up," Pamela offers. "The library's just 10 minutes away." She has no idea that this simple errand will change everything. The Holbrook County Library sits quietly under the afternoon sun. The parking lot is nearly empty. Pamela pulls into a spot, checks her mirrors, and walks inside. 15 minutes later, she steps back out, and her life will never be the same. The Holbrook County Library is a modest brick building with white columns, built in 1952 and barely updated since. Pamela finds the Eleanor Roosevelt biography easily, checks it out with a smile to the elderly librarian, and heads back outside. The Georgia heat hits her like a wall. She squints against the glare, book tucked under her arm. Then she stops. A patrol car now sits directly behind her vehicle, blocking any exit. Not just any patrol car. The door reads in bold letters, "Sheriff, Holbrook County." And the man leaning against it, arms crossed, watching her approach with cold eyes, he isn't a deputy. Sheriff Wayne Hollister, 48 years old, tall and broad-shouldered, with salt and pepper hair cropped military short. Oakley sunglasses hide his eyes, but not the sneer on his lips. He has held this position for 12 years, elected 3 times by comfortable margins, known throughout the county for being hands-on. Unlike most sheriffs who delegate patrol duties, Hollister still drives these roads himself every Saturday. Staying connected to the community, he calls it. Others call it something else. He pushes off from the car as Pamela approaches her vehicle. "This your car?" "Yes, Sheriff. Is there a problem?" His eyes travel slowly from her face to the car to her face again. The assessment is deliberate, degrading. The look of a man examining something he finds distasteful. "A black woman driving a Lexus in Holbrook County." He laughs, a short, harsh sound with no warmth in it whatsoever. "Either you stole this vehicle or you're selling something I don't want to know about. Which is it?" Pamela keeps her voice steady, measured. 20 years of professional composure serving her now. "Sir, I'm a professor at Georgia State University. I'm visiting my mother who lives on Maple Street. I've just been to the library." A professor. He says the word like it's an insult, like it leaves a bad taste in his mouth. "Right. And I'm the Pope of Rome. License and registration. Now." She retrieves them from her purse without argument, hands them over. He examines her driver's license with exaggerated slowness. "Georgia State University address. So you're not from around here." "I grew up in this county, Sheriff. This is my home." "Doesn't matter where you grew up. What matters is you're parked too close to the vehicle next to you. County Ordinance 14-9, that's a violation." Pamela glances at the gap between her car and the one beside it. 2 feet of space. Maybe more. Well within the painted lines by any reasonable measurement. "Sir, with respect, I'm clearly within the marked boundaries. Anyone can see you're parked where I decide you're parked." His voice hardens. "And I decide you violated Ordinance 14-9. His right hand moves to his chest. His fingers touch the body camera mounted there. The small red recording light blinks once, then goes dark. Pamela notices. She says nothing, but she notices. "Step out of the vehicle." "May I ask why, Sheriff?" "Because I told you to." That's why. He steps closer, deliberately crowding her space, using his height and badge to intimidate. People like you need to learn respect. People like you need to understand how things work in my county. Now turn around. Put your hands behind your back. By now, a small crowd has gathered. Martha Shelton, 68 years old, a retired school teacher, watches from the library entrance with her hand pressed to her mouth in shock. Two teenagers stand near the sidewalk, phones raised, recording everything with eager grins. A man in a pickup truck has slowed down to watch the spectacle. Someone in the gathering crowd laughs. Someone else mutters something Pamela can't quite hear but can certainly imagine. No one steps forward to help. No one says a word in her defense. You're under arrest for disorderly conduct and obstruction of justice. I haven't done anything wrong. I was returning a library book. You were being uppity. That's more than enough for me. The handcuffs click shut. Cold metal bites into her wrists, pinching skin. He tightens them more than necessary. She can feel each ridge of the restraints pressing into her flesh. He grabs her arm roughly, marches her toward the patrol car. His hand presses down hard on her head as he shoves her into the back seat, not bothering to protect her from the door frame. The door slams shut with finality. The drive to the sheriff's office takes 15 minutes. Pamela sits in silence behind the metal cage partition. The handcuffs dig deeper with every bump in the road. Through the window, she watches the cotton fields roll past, the same fields she drove through as a child, feeling like a stranger in her own hometown. The Holbrook County Sheriff's Office is a single-story red brick building set back from the road. Inside, the booking area reeks of industrial bleach and coffee that's been sitting on the burner for far too long. Fluorescent tubes buzz overhead, casting everything in harsh, unflattering light. A young deputy stands behind the intake counter. He looks at Pamela, then at Sheriff Hollister, confusion flickering across his face. "Book her," Hollister orders. "Disorderly conduct, obstruction." The deputy hesitates visibly. "Sheriff? For parking?" "Did I ask for your opinion, deputy? Book her, now." Pamela is fingerprinted. The ink feels cold and greasy against her skin. She stands before the height chart while a camera flash captures her face from the front and side. Her mugshot is now permanently in the system. Then she speaks. Her voice remains calm, controlled, quiet. "Sheriff Hollister." He turns, irritation plain on his face. "Before you finish processing me, there's something you should see. In my wallet, inside pocket. There's a business card." Something flickers in his eyes. Curiosity, perhaps, or the first stirring of unease. He walks to the counter where her belongings sit in a clear plastic bin. Opens her wallet, removes a small white card. He reads it. Dr. Pamela Crawford, Professor of Criminal Justice, Georgia State University. Specialization, Police Reform, and Accountability. He freezes. The color drains from his face like water from a sink. The booking room camera mounted in the corner records everything. 15 seconds pass. No one speaks, no one moves, no one breathes. The same sheriff who called her a thief, who said people like her don't belong, who laughed while a crowd filmed her humiliation. Now he cannot find a single word. Pamela watches him steadily. "We've met before, Sheriff. Georgia State University, spring 2004. Introduction to Criminal Justice. You sat in the third row from the back." Hollister's face has turned ashen gray. "I wrote your recommendation letter for the police academy. You asked me personally." 5 more seconds of absolute crushing silence. When he finally speaks, his voice comes out rough, broken, barely above a whisper. "Release her." The deputy blinks. "Sir, release her, now. Drop the charges, delete the booking record, all of it." "Sheriff, I can't just delete official records." "Do it. That's an order." The handcuffs come off. Pamela rubs her wrists slowly, The red marks remain, pressed into her skin like accusations. She collects her belongings and walks out into the Georgia sun. Behind her, Sheriff Hollister stands frozen in the booking room, realizing he has just made the biggest mistake of his 12-year career. Pamela returns to her mother's house as the sun begins its descent toward the tree line, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Dorothy sits on the porch with 2 glasses of sweet tea, condensation beading on the outside. The ice clinks gently as she lifts one glass toward her daughter. "You get the book?" Pamela hands her the Eleanor Roosevelt biography. She doesn't mention what happened at the library. Not yet. Dorothy doesn't need that wait tonight. Some truths can wait until morning. But sleep doesn't come for Pamela. Past midnight, she sits at the kitchen table, laptop open, the glow of the screen the only light in the dark house. She writes everything down. 8 pages of meticulous documentation. Every word spoken, as close to verbatim as memory allows. Every timestamp she can reconstruct. The exact moment Hollister's hand moved to his body camera, the 15 seconds of frozen silence. The order to delete her records. She has spent 20 years teaching law enforcement accountability. Now she documents her own case with the same precision she would demand from any research subject. Monday morning, 9 o'clock sharp. She drives to the Holbrook County Sheriff's Office and files a formal complaint. Form IA-9, 8 pages, every detail accounted for. The receptionist accepts the paperwork with a face carefully blank of any expression. "This will be reviewed by our Internal Affairs Division. You'll receive a response within 60 days. 60 days. Pamela knows exactly what that means. 60 days for evidence to conveniently disappear. For witnesses to forget or be persuaded to forget. For the story to fade from public memory. For the whole thing to be quietly buried. She files a separate request under the Georgia Open Records Act. Then she drives back to the library. Martha Shelton is there, returning a stack of romance novels. The same elderly woman who watched from the library entrance while Pamela was arrested. "Mrs. Shelton, I'm Pamela Crawford. We haven't formally met, but you saw what happened on Saturday." Martha's eyes widen with recognition. And something else. Fear, perhaps. Or guilt. "I saw everything," Martha says quietly. "You didn't do anything wrong. You were just walking out of the library with a book. A library book, for heaven's sake. The way he spoke to you, the things he said." She shakes her head slowly. "I've lived in this county for 40 years. I know how things work here, but someone needs to say something. It's not right. Would you be willing to provide a written statement? Something official?" Martha glances around the quiet library, checking who might be listening. "Yes," she says finally, straightening her spine as if making a decision she's been avoiding for a long time. "Someone has to stand up. Might as well be me." Pamela files Martha Shelton's witness testimony that same afternoon. Back at Dorothy's house, she searches online for local journalists. The Holbrook Gazette is a small newspaper with limited circulation, but it has one investigative reporter on staff, Diane Foster. Pamela composes an email with the same care she would give an academic paper. "My name is Dr. Pamela Crawford. I am a professor of criminal justice at Georgia State University. On Saturday, June 15th, I was arrested by Sheriff Wayne Hollister for allegedly parking too close to another vehicle. I was called a thief because I am a black woman driving a nice car. I was told that people like me don't belong in Holbrook County. I was fingerprinted and photographed before being released. I do not believe I am the first person this has happened to." Meh. 3 hours later, her phone rings. Diane Foster is 44 years old with sharp, assessing eyes and a direct manner that wastes no time on pleasantries. They meet at a coffee shop in the next county over, well outside Hollister's jurisdiction. "I've been watching Sheriff Hollister for 5 years now," Diane says, sliding a thick folder across the table. "You're definitely not the first person to tell me this kind of story, not even close." "How many others?" Diane opens the folder. Inside, 14 names arranged chronologically, each with an attached incident summary. 14 arrests over the past 5 years, all made by Sheriff Hollister personally, not by his deputies. Him. Every single charge was dropped within 24 to 48 hours. Pamela scans the list carefully. The alleged offenses read like a catalog of manufactured pretexts. Jaywalking, loitering, suspicious behavior, failure to signal, various parking violations. Every charge dropped, Pamela repeats, but the arrests remain on record. Exactly. He doesn't need convictions. He just needs the arrest itself. The mugshot, the fingerprints, the booking record. Those stay in the system permanently, even when charges disappear. Try explaining an arrest record on a job application. Try getting a promotion with your mugshot floating around online for anyone to find. Pamela studies the 14 names more closely. 12 of the 14 are black, in a county where black residents make up 31% of the population. 68% of his personal arrests target black residents. He profiles openly because he doesn't believe anyone will ever hold him accountable. And for 12 years, he's been right. These people, have any of them spoken out? Diane shakes her head. Most are too scared. Some have moved away. A few tried to complain through official channels. Internal Affairs, which is run by Under Sheriff Earl Bridwell, Hollister's right-hand man, ruled every single complaint unsubstantiated. Case closed. No action taken. Pamela closes the folder. Maybe this time will be different. Maybe. I have a source. Former IT contractor for the sheriff's office. If we need technical evidence, digital records, he might be willing to help. They think they're building a case. They think the truth will protect them. They have no idea what's coming. The story breaks before Diane can publish her carefully researched article. Someone leaks the basic details to WLB-TV in Albany. A news crew shows up at Dorothy's house unannounced, cameras already rolling. Pamela gives an interview on the front porch. The same porch where she used to catch fireflies as a child, now bathed in the harsh light of television equipment. The segment airs that evening. The headline is irresistible, engineered for maximum viral spread. Sheriff arrests black professor for parking too close, goes silent after reading her business card. Within 48 hours, the video has accumulated over 180,000 views and counting. The hashtag Justice for Pamela begins trending across Georgia, then spreads to neighboring states. Comments flood in by the thousands, expressions of outrage, disbelief, solidarity. Strangers share their own stories of similar encounters. The internet, for once, seems to be on the side of justice. Pamela allows herself a moment of hope. Maybe sunlight really is the best disinfectant. Maybe this time, the system will actually work. Then Sheriff Hollister holds a press conference. He stands behind a polished wooden podium, the Holbrook County seal displayed prominently behind him. Under Sheriff Earl Bridwell flanks him on the right. 58 years old, Hollister's loyal second-in-command for a decade, the man who runs internal affairs with an iron fist and a blind eye. Hollister speaks directly into the cameras, his voice measured and calm, every word carefully rehearsed. Dr. Crawford was detained briefly on Saturday due to a misunderstanding regarding a parking ordinance. Once her identity was properly verified, she was released immediately without charges. This was an isolated incident, a regrettable miscommunication that has been blown far out of proportion. The matter is now closed. Isolated incident. He emphasizes those two words, says them twice during his brief statement. Reporters shout questions. Hollister deflects each one with practiced ease. Bridwell stands silently beside him, his expression unreadable as stone. Pamela watches the press conference from her mother's living room. Dorothy sits beside her on the old floral couch. Isolated incident, Pamela says bitterly. 14 people might have something to say about that. Her phone buzzes. An email notification. Georgia State University. Office of the Provost. She opens it with a growing sense of dread. Reads it once, reads it again, hoping the words might rearrange themselves into something different. Dr. Crawford, due to the public nature of your current situation and the ongoing investigation, the university has determined that it is in everyone's best interest to place you on administrative leave without pay, effective immediately. Your building access credentials have been deactivated. Your courses will be reassigned to other faculty members. Please direct any questions to the Human Resources Department. She calls the dean's direct line immediately, hands trembling with anger and disbelief. I'm the victim here, Marcus. I was arrested for parking my car while black. Why am I being punished? The dean's voice is careful, uncomfortable, the voice of a man caught between conscience and career. Pamela, you're becoming controversial. Major donors have expressed serious concerns. The board is worried about the university's public image, especially during an election year. Several state legislators have called. A sheriff racially profiled me, arrested me on false charges, and humiliated me in public. That's the controversy you're worried about? I understand. I truly do. But this decision came from above my level. My hands are tied, I'm sorry. The call ends with a hollow click. Pamela sits in silence for a long time. 20 years of building a career, brick by careful brick. Erased in one carefully worded email. Her salary? Gone. Her health insurance? Gone. Her research access? Her graduate students? Her office? Her professional identity? All of it gone. Dorothy brings her a fresh glass of sweet tea, sits down beside her without speaking, offering silent comfort. You can stop now, baby. Walk away from all this. No one would blame you for protecting yourself. Pamela thinks about the 14 names in Diane's folder, about Martha Shelton's brave witness statement, about the pattern everyone can see but no one will name out loud. She thinks about Curtis. 25 years ago, the complaint he never filed, the resignation in his voice. If I stop now, Mama, they win. And the next black woman he pulls over has nobody standing up for her. Dorothy nods slowly, says nothing more. She understands. She thought going public would protect her. Instead, it cost her everything she'd built over 2 decades. But she wasn't done paying the price. Not even close. Diane Foster arrives at Dorothy's house the following morning, a thick manila folder tucked under her arm, and exhaustion written across her face. I got the complete personnel file through open records, and 5 years of arrest statistics. You need to see this. They spread the documents across Dorothy's kitchen table. Coffee percolates on the counter, filling the small room with its familiar aroma. The personnel file confirms what Pamela already suspected. Wayne Hollister graduated from the police academy in 2006. Joined the Holbrook County Sheriff's Office as a deputy that same year. Rose steadily through the ranks, collecting commendations and political allies along the way. Elected sheriff in 2012. Re-elected twice since then by comfortable margins. But there's something else buried in the file. Something that makes Pamela's breath catch in her throat. Before Holbrook County, Hollister worked as a deputy in Mercer County from 1998 to 2002. Mercer County. That's where Pamela's family lived in 1999. That's where Curtis was beaten during a traffic stop by officers who were never identified, never disciplined, never held accountable. She sets that thought aside for now. One investigation at a time. Focus on the evidence in front of her. The arrest data tells an even clearer story. Between 2019 and 2024, Sheriff Hollister personally conducted 89 arrests. Not arrests made by his deputies while he supervised from a distance. Him, directly, personally. Of those 89 arrests, 61 involved black residents. 68%. The population of Holbrook County is 31% black. This disparity doesn't happen by accident, Pamela says quietly, her academic training kicking in despite everything. This is systematic targeting, deliberate, documented, undeniable. He profiles openly, Diane agrees, because he doesn't believe anyone will ever hold him accountable. And for 12 years, he's been absolutely right. They begin contacting the victims on the list, one by one. Derek Wilson answers on the second ring, 34 years old. Works at an auto repair shop now, but once had bigger dreams. I was arrested in 2021 for jaywalking, he says, his voice carrying the weight of exhausted resignation. Jaywalking. I was crossing the street to get to my own car parked on the other side. Broad daylight. No traffic. He drove up, told me I was breaking the law, put me in cuffs before I could say a word. He pauses, collecting himself. Charges got dropped after 20 hours, but that arrest showed up on every background check afterward. Lost a job offer at a distribution warehouse. Good job, too. Benefits, retirement plan, gone because of a mugshot for crossing the street. Another pause. You know what he said to me while he was cuffing me? Boy, you people need to learn to stay in your lane. I stopped fighting after that. Figured nobody cared what happens to people like us. Teresa Dawson is 29, has a degree in business administration that she's never been able to fully use. I was arrested in 2022 for suspicious behavior, she says with a bitter laugh. You know what I was doing? Sitting in my parked car outside a convenience store, waiting for my friend's shift to end so we could grab dinner. That was the crime. Sitting in my own vehicle, being black in public. She pauses, steadying her voice. He called me girl, told me women like me always have something to hide, made me feel like a criminal for existing. Charges dropped, of course. But when my employer Googled my name during a promotion review 6 months later, guess what came up? My mugshot. I had to sit in an HR meeting and explain why I'd been arrested, like I was the one who did something wrong. 3 more victims agree to go on record. Then 4 more. Each story different in its details, but identical in its essence. Manufactured charges, public humiliation, lasting damage, zero accountability. The pattern becomes impossible to deny. Then Pamela reaches the 8th name on the list. Jerome Atkins. Age at time of arrest, 22 years old. Arrested in March 2022. The charge, loitering. According to the police report, he was standing outside a convenience store, waiting for a friend. Charges dropped after 18 hours in a holding cell. At the bottom of his file, typed in small, cold letters, a notation that stops Pamela's heart. Deceased, September 2022. She looks up at Diane, a chill running through her despite the summer heat. What happened to Jerome Atkins? Diane is quiet for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice is barely above a whisper. Jerome Atkins took his own life, 6 months after his arrest. The words hang in the air like a physical weight. His mother, Gloria Atkins, told me the whole story when I was researching this pattern last year. After the arrest, Jerome changed completely. Couldn't find steady work because every application asked about criminal history. Had to explain the arrest over and over again to strangers who looked at him like he was lying, like he must have done something wrong even if the charges were dropped. Pamela stares at Jerome's mugshot. 22 years old, scared eyes looking into the camera, a young man who committed no crime more serious than standing on a public sidewalk. He started believing what the system kept telling him he was, Diane continues. A criminal, a suspect, someone who needed to be watched, controlled, contained, someone who didn't belong in decent society. The arrest became part of his identity, no matter how much he tried to escape it. And no one helped him? He filed a complaint. Internal Affairs, run by Undersheriff Bridwell, investigated for exactly 2 weeks and ruled it unsubstantiated. No action taken. Case closed. Jerome got a form letter. That was it. Pamela sets down the photograph gently, as if it might break. Sheriff Hollister didn't need a prison sentence to destroy Jerome's life. He didn't need a conviction or a trial. He just needed a mugshot and a booking record. That was enough to break a 22-year-old who had his whole life ahead of him. She thinks about her own mugshot, taken 8 days ago. Still somewhere in the system, despite Hollister's panicked order to delete it. Gloria Atkins, Jerome's mother. Would she be willing to talk to us? I asked her last year. She wasn't ready then. Said she was tired of talking to people who expressed sympathy but never actually did anything. Tired of being a story instead of a cause. Ask her again. Tell her this time might be different. Jerome Atkins was 22 years old. He was arrested for standing outside a convenience store waiting for a friend. The charges were dropped within a day. But the damage, the mugshot, the record, the label of criminal that followed him everywhere, that stayed with him. 6 months later, he was gone. If you believe this system needs to change, stay with me. Because what happens next nearly destroyed Pamela Crawford completely. That night, Pamela sits alone on her mother's front porch. Fireflies drift lazily across the darkened yard. The ceiling fan clicks its slow rhythm overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks once and falls silent. She thinks about Jerome Atkins, 22 years old. She thinks about Curtis, the complaint he never filed, the resignation that settled into his eyes and never left. She thinks about her own recommendation letter, written 20 years ago with such optimism. Wayne Hollister demonstrates genuine interest in law enforcement. I believe he has the potential to serve with integrity. She was wrong. She helped create the monster. And now she has to stop him. The investigation was building momentum. Evidence was mounting. But the system was about to strike back. And they wouldn't target Pamela directly. They would go after the person she loved most in the world. The threats begin Thursday. An anonymous post appears on a local forum. Dorothy Crawford's full name. Her address on Maple Street. A photograph of her house. The caption, "She wants to destroy our sheriff. Let's see how her family likes feeling unsafe." Pamela reports it to law enforcement, to the Holbrook County Sheriff's Office. A deputy takes her statement. "We'll monitor the situation, ma'am." Nothing happens. The emails arrive next, 5 of them over 3 days. Email 1. "Watch your back, Professor, and your mother should watch hers." Email 2, sent to Georgia State. "Why are you protecting this cop-hating bitch?" Email 3. "Nice house on Maple Street. Does the old black lady live alone?" Pamela saves every email, documents everything. She hires a security company to check Dorothy's locks, installs a motion sensor light. Dorothy waves it off. "I've lived here 50 years. Nobody's scaring me out of my own home." A statement arrives from Sheriff Hollister's attorney. "Sheriff Hollister has no connection to any threatening communications. These allegations are baseless and defamatory. He has served Holbrook County with dedication for 12 years and will continue to do so." The statement says nothing about the 14 arrests, nothing about Jerome Atkins, nothing about 68%. Friday night. Pamela stays at a motel outside the county line. She needs quiet to work. Her phone rings at 3:52 a.m. "Ms. Crawford, this is Holbrook General Hospital. Your mother has had a stroke. She's being stabilized. You should come immediately." Pamela drives 90 minutes through darkness, hands shaking on the wheel. The hospital is small. White walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of antiseptic and fear. A doctor meets her in the hallway. "Your mother experienced a hemorrhagic stroke around 2:30 a.m. We've stabilized her, but she hasn't regained consciousness." "What caused it?" "Severe stress appears to have been a factor. Her neighbor found her on the kitchen floor after hearing glass break." Glass break. Pamela walks to Dorothy's room. Her mother lies motionless. Monitors beep. An oxygen mask covers her face. A police report sits on the bedside table. Vandalism reported at 2:18 a.m. Brick thrown through front window. Note attached. Stop or else. Homeowner found on kitchen floor, transported to hospital following cardiac event. 2:18 a.m. While Pamela slept 60 miles away. She sits beside Dorothy's bed, takes her mother's hand. The skin feels paper thin and cold. "I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry." The monitors beep. Dorothy doesn't respond. Sheriff Hollister's attorney released an additional statement. These attacks are deplorable, and Sheriff Hollister condemns them. However, there is no evidence linking these incidents to the sheriff's office. Dr. Crawford's continued accusations are reckless and legally actionable. The investigation into the brick attack remains open. No arrests have been made. 3 days pass. Dorothy remains unconscious. Pamela sleeps in the vinyl chair beside her bed. Barely eats. Doesn't leave. On the 4th day, Dorothy's hand moves. Her eyes open. Slowly. Her lips move beneath the oxygen mask. Pamela leans close. Did we win?" Tears stream down Pamela's face. "Not yet, Mama. Not yet." Dorothy's grip tightens, weak but deliberate. "Then, don't stop. Mama, if you had died because of me..." Dorothy's voice is barely a whisper, but the steel beneath it is unmistakable. "That boy, Jerome, he didn't have anyone to fight for him. You fight. You hear me?" Pamela bows her head. The tears fall. "Okay, Mama. Okay." They couldn't silence the daughter, so they went after the mother. Dorothy Crawford, 78 years old, living alone, paid the price for her daughter's courage. The days blur together in that hospital room. Dorothy improves slowly. Her speech returns. Her right side is weak but responding to therapy. The doctors say she'll recover. It will take months. Pamela sits with her every afternoon. They talk about small things, the garden needing water, the neighbor's new dog, the Eleanor Roosevelt book still waiting on Dorothy's nightstand. One afternoon, Dorothy asks about Curtis. "Have you called your brother?" He didn't answer. He's scared for you, and ashamed that he didn't fight when they hurt him, that you're fighting and he didn't. Pamela looks at her mother. That was different. He was alone. Are you alone? The question hangs. Pamela thinks about Diane Foster, her ally, her partner in this investigation. But Diane has been quiet lately, missed meetings, returned calls slowly. Something is wrong. I don't know, Mama. That night, Pamela reviews everything. Dashcam footage. She has a copy. Booking room footage. Still officially corrupted. 14 arrest records, legally obtained. Jerome Atkins's file with deceased in red. 7 witness statements. A petition with 2,500 signatures. ACLU Georgia has sent a letter to the county board. A civil rights attorney has offered pro bono representation. The county council has scheduled a special session. 2 weeks away. Everything is moving forward. So why does she feel like something is about to collapse? She calls Diane. Voicemail, texts, no response for hours. Finally, we need to talk. Tomorrow, not over phone. Pamela stares at the message. Something is very wrong. She thinks about her mother's question. Are you alone? She remembers Dorothy's words. Don't stop. She remembers Jerome Atkins. No one to fight for him. She picks up her phone, calls Curtis. This time he answers. Pamela, I need to ask you something about 1999, the deputy who hurt you. Do you remember his name? Long silence. No, I only remember. He was young, brown hair, and he smiled while he did it. Pamela closes her eyes. I think it was him, Curtis. Hollister was in Mercer County from 1998 to 2002. Silence. "That doesn't change anything," Curtis finally says. "It changes everything for me." Pamela could stop here. Her mother nearly died. Her career is destroyed. Her brother won't join her. No one would blame her for walking away. But Dorothy Crawford from her hospital bed told her daughter to keep fighting, and Pamela Crawford doesn't break promises to her mother. What happens next will test her in ways she never imagined. She thought she knew who stood beside her. She thought Diane was an ally. She was about to learn the price of trust. They meet at the coffee shop outside the county line. Same booth. Diane looks different. Dark circles under her eyes. Hands that won't stay still. "What's going on?" Diane stares at her coffee. "I got an email yesterday. Anonymous. Screenshots." She slides her phone across the table. Email exchanges between Diane Foster and Undersheriff Earl Bridwell. Email 1, Bridwell to Diane. "Sheriff Hollister is a good man. The county is looking for a PR director. $85,000. Full benefits. I think you'd be perfect." Email 2, Diane to Bridwell. "I need to think about it." Email 3, Bridwell to Diane. "I understand your mother needs heart surgery. Medical bills are difficult. Our county health plan is excellent." Email 4, Diane to Bridwell. "I'll soften the angle." Pamela reads it 3 times. "You sold me out." Diane's eyes are wet. "Pamela, let me explain. $85,000. That's what your integrity costs?" "My mother needs heart surgery. $40,000. I don't have it. I couldn't." "You had a choice. You could have told me. We could have figured something out. Instead, you went behind my back." Diane shakes her head. "I didn't take the job. I just told them I'd soften the story. You compromised everything. You gave them leverage." "I know. God, I know." Pamela stands, leaves money on the table. "We're done. Pamela, I trusted you. You were the only journalist who took this seriously, and you sold me for a job offer." She walks out without looking back. The drive back takes 40 minutes. Pamela grips the wheel until her knuckles turn white. She has lost everything. Career, gone. Mother, nearly killed. Alley, bought. The county council session is 12 days away. Without Diane's story, media pressure will fade. Without pressure, the council might postpone indefinitely. She pulls into the motel parking lot, sits in the car. She thinks about quitting, going home, taking care of Dorothy, letting it go. Then she hears Dorothy's voice. "Don't stop." She hears Jerome Atkins's mother, a woman she hasn't met yet. He didn't have anyone. Pamela picks up her phone. The ACLU attorney, the civil rights lawyer, the 7 witnesses. She doesn't need Diane Foster. She'll fight alone if she has to. She thought she'd lost everything. She was almost right. But one phone call was about to change everything. 2 days later, County Council announces a preliminary vote. Without new evidence, they're considering postponing indefinitely. Insufficient grounds for review. Pamela has 48 hours. Her phone rings at 9 p.m. Unknown number. "Dr. Crawford? Raymond Oates, former IT contractor for the sheriff's office. Diane Foster mentioned me." "What do you want?" "To help. Walmart parking lot on Highway 19, tonight. I'll be in a blue pickup." She hesitates. Could be a trap, but 48 hours, no other options. 30 minutes. Raymond Oates, 51 years old, gray hair, tired eyes. He leans against his truck. "They fired me 4 months ago, called it budget cuts. Real reason? I wouldn't delete what they told me to delete." "What did they want deleted?" He reaches into the truck, pulls out a USB drive. "Booking room footage from June 15th. 11 minutes. Your arrest. The business card. 15 seconds of silence. The sheriff ordering your record deleted." Pamela stares at the small plastic object. They said that footage was corrupted. It wasn't corrupted. It was deleted. 48 hours after your arrest, I was told to wipe it from all backup servers. But you didn't. Made a copy first. Insurance. He hands her the drive. There's more. Deletion log shows exactly when and who. Admin Bridwell, the undersheriff's account. Pamela's heart pounds. This proves cover-up. It proves they tried and failed. Metadata's intact. Any expert can verify. Why now? Why risk everything? Raymond looks away, then back. I have a granddaughter, 16, black, beautiful, smart, wants to be a doctor. He pauses. Every time she drives somewhere, I worry. Think about what could happen if she gets pulled over by someone like Hollister. He shakes his head. 20 years I kept my head down, followed orders, looked away. Can't do it anymore. Pamela holds the USB drive carefully. I have 36 hours. Get it to the ACLU tonight. She extends her hand. Thank you. He shakes it. Make it count. 12 hours later. ACLU confirms. Footage authentic. Metadata intact. Deletion log irrefutable. Pamela calls the county board. I have new evidence the footage exists. The special session will proceed, and Gloria Atkins finally returns Pamela's call. I'll be there. I'll testify. The pieces were falling into place, but the hardest moment was still ahead. Thursday evening, 6 o'clock, County Council Chamber. 180 people crowd into a room built for 120. News cameras line the back wall. The air conditioning struggles against the heat and bodies. Front row, Dorothy Crawford in a wheelchair. She checked out of the hospital early. I didn't survive a stroke to miss this. Sheriff Wayne Hollister sits at a table with his attorney. Under Sheriff Earl Bridwell beside him. Councilwoman Sandra Hall calls the session to order. Pamela approaches the podium. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to present facts. She plays the dash cam footage, the traffic stop, the handcuffs. She plays the recovered booking room footage, the mugshot, the business card. 15 seconds of frozen silence. The sheriff's voice. Delete the booking record. She presents arrest statistics. 89 arrests. 68% black residents. A county that's 31% black. She presents 14 cases. All charges dropped. All records remaining. She presents the deletion log. Under Sheriff Bridwell's account. 48 hours after her arrest. Hollister's attorney objects repeatedly. Councilwoman Hall overrules each time. When Pamela finishes, Hollister is asked to respond. He clears his throat. I acted in the interest of community safety. These decisions were made in contexts civilians might not understand. Councilwoman Hall leans forward. Sheriff, 14 arrests with all charges dropped. 68% involving black residents. One young man is dead. What context explains that? Hollister doesn't answer. Then a woman rises from the audience. Gloria Atkins, 54 years old, gray hair, eyes that have cried until no tears remain. My name is Gloria Atkins. My son was Jerome. The chamber falls silent. Jerome was arrested by Sheriff Hollister in March 2022. His crime? Standing outside a convenience store, waiting for a friend. He spent 18 hours in a cell. Charges dropped the next day. She pauses. 6 months later, my son was gone. Someone gasps. A woman begins crying. He couldn't find work. The record followed him everywhere. He started believing what the system told him, that he was a criminal, that he didn't belong, that he wasn't worth protecting. She looks directly at Hollister. My son didn't die because he was weak. He died because you broke him, and you walked away like he was nothing. Gloria sits. The room stays silent. Then the doors swing open. Diane Foster walks in, USB drive in hand. "I have a confession." She approaches the podium. "I was offered $85,000 by Undersheriff Bridwell to soften my coverage. I'm ashamed to say I considered it." Murmurs ripple through the crowd. "But I can't live with myself if I stay silent." She hands the drive to Councilwoman Hall. This contains email exchanges proving the sheriff's office attempted to influence press coverage through bribery. Bridwell's face goes pale. Pamela and Diane exchange a look, a small nod. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something. The council deliberates 40 minutes. The vote, 4-3. Councilman Virgil Tate casts the deciding vote. "I have grandchildren. I cannot look them in the eye and vote to protect this. Jerome Atkins deserved better." Sheriff Wayne Hollister, suspended pending investigation. Undersheriff Earl Bridwell, referred for criminal investigation. Independent Review Board, established. Dorothy raises one frail hand from her wheelchair. Pamela walks to her. They hold hands. No words needed. 4-3. 12 years of power suspended, because one professor refused to forget, and one grieving mother refused to stay silent. 8 weeks later. Independent investigation concludes, Sheriff Wayne Hollister engaged in a pattern of discriminatory arrests and abuse of power. He resigns, loses his pension, faces 3 civil lawsuits. Undersheriff Earl Bridwell is charged with destruction of evidence and witness tampering. The review board begins work. Gloria Atkins is appointed as a member. Diane Foster takes a job at another newspaper. She and Pamela aren't friends, but there's respect. Dorothy Crawford sits on her porch, Pamela beside her. Fireflies drift across the yard. Dorothy holds the Eleanor Roosevelt biography. Finally finished. She said something good. "Do what you feel in your heart to be right, for you'll be criticized anyway." Pamela smiles. "You read it 3 times in the hospital." Nothing else to do but think. Georgia State invites Pamela to return. Donors withdrew their objections after the verdict made national news. Her first lecture back. Accountability in law enforcement, a case study in persistence. She tells her students, "Systems can change, but only when people pay the price for truth." A black woman in a nice car, in a county where she didn't belong. The sheriff put her in handcuffs, called her a thief, said people like her needed to learn their place. Then he read her business card, and he couldn't speak for 15 seconds. No one stands above the law, not even the sheriff. If this story made you think, share it. Subscribe, and tell me, how should people like Sheriff Hollister be held accountable?